Ladies and gentlemen, today I stand before you with a message that does not require applause, only your decision. And that message is simply no more excuses, just action. Excuses are lies dressed in reason. They feel good in the moment, but steal every tomorrow you could have owned. Excuses sound like, I'm not ready, it's not the right time, or what if I fail? But here's the truth: success doesn't wait for your perfect mood, your ideal environment, or your fear to disappear. It waits for your decision. Desire on its own is not enough. Every person at some point wants something greater, a better life, a stronger body, and a thriving business, deeper relationships, more meaning. But wanting is common. Real desire, burning, all-consuming, and focused, is rare. It is not a fleeting thought or a passing mood. It is a fire in your gut that refuses to go out. True desire keeps you awake at night. It whispers to you in the quiet hours. It grows when ignored and insists on being fulfilled. But even that powerful flame is not enough without something more: belief. Belief is the soil in which desire must be planted. Without belief, your desire becomes a fantasy, a picture in your mind that never reaches your hands. It is definite. Belief is what tells you this is not just possible, it's mine to claim. It silences the voices that say you're not ready or you're not enough. When you truly believe, excuses become irrelevant. You stop asking if and start asking how. You begin to see obstacles not as reasons to quit, but as problems to solve. Your mind starts looking for doors instead of walls. And here's where the power truly begins: when desire and belief come together, they create motion. Not just idle thinking, but real, determined, consistent action. You wake up with purpose. You stop delaying. You speak differently. You walk into rooms with the energy of someone who has already decided they will succeed, no matter what. Action becomes automatic. Because you're not waiting for proof, your belief is the proof. Most people fail not because they lack talent, opportunity, or intelligence, but because their desire is weak and their belief is missing. The foundation was never laid. They talk themselves out of their goals before they even try. But those who act, the ones who change their lives, are those who dare to want more and believe they deserve it. They may not have the perfect plan or all the answers, but they begin, they move. And that movement attracts momentum, growth, and eventually results. So if you want change, don't just wish. Build the fire of desire and then protect it with belief. Guard it from doubt, fear, and hesitation. Because once those two forces are united inside you, nothing outside you can stop the action that follows. The reason so many people hesitate isn't because they're lazy. It's because they're unclear. Confusion breeds paralysis. When your mind is filled with vague hopes, undefined goals, and half-formed plans, it's no wonder you stall. You can't move confidently towards something you can't clearly see. You can't act with urgency when you don't know exactly what you're aiming for. And that's the trap. The longer you stay unclear, the easier it is to make excuses, to postpone, to distract yourself with meaningless activity that feels like progress but leads nowhere. But clarity, true focused clarity, is a weapon. It slices through all hesitation. It gives you direction, purpose, and energy. When you are clear about what you want, your decisions become easier. Your schedule begins to reflect your priorities. You stop second-guessing yourself because you know what you're working toward. You stop saying yes to everything and start saying no to what doesn't align. You begin moving not randomly, but with precision. Clarity also exposes your weaknesses and your distractions. It brings into sharp focus the habits that waste your time and the people who drain your drive. And with that awareness comes power. The power to adjust, refine, and focus. When you have a clear target, even a small step forward feels like progress. But when you're shooting in the dark, even 100 steps can feel like failure. You don't need to have everything figured out. You just need to be honest about what you truly want. Don't wait for perfect clarity, create it. Sit down with yourself. Strip away the noise. Ask the hard questions. What do I really want? Why does it matter? What am I willing to sacrifice? What's the first step I can take today? Clarity doesn't come from thinking endlessly. It comes from committing to an outcome and taking action in that direction. And with every action, the picture gets sharper. Once you have that clarity, hesitation dies. Delay disappears. You become a force that doesn't wait, doesn't wander, and doesn't waste time. You don't need motivation when your path is clear. You only need discipline, and discipline becomes easier when the destination is visible. So if you're stuck, if you're tired of spinning in circles, don't ask for more time or more motivation. Ask for more clarity. Because once you see where you're going, the excuses have nowhere to hide, and the only thing left to do is move. Fear is natural. Everyone feels it. The fear of failure, the fear of judgment, the fear of not being good enough. These emotions are universal. But fear is also a liar. It exaggerates, distorts, and paralyzes. It tells you to wait, to overthink, to shrink. And the more you sit with it, the stronger it becomes. Fear feeds on inaction. It grows when you pause, when you hesitate, when you replay worst-case scenarios over and over in your mind. The longer you wait to act, the louder fear gets. But the moment you move, even slightly, something changes. Fear begins to lose its grip. Why? Because fear thrives in your imagination, not in reality. It builds castles in the air, but those castles crumble the moment you take a step forward. Action forces fear to face facts. When you act, you give your mind proof that you are capable. Even if you stumble, even if it's messy, the simple act of doing breaks fear's illusion. Action creates momentum, and the momentum is fear's enemy. The first step is always the hardest, but it's also the most important. Once you take it, the next step is easier. With each small victory, each call made, each task completed, each uncomfortable move, you gain confidence. You don't become fearless, you become courageous. And courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision that something else matters more. You don't overcome fear by thinking about it. You don't beat it by researching endlessly or planning forever. You overcome it by doing the very thing you're afraid of, even if your hands shake, even if your voice trembles. Because when you take action, you shift your focus from what might go wrong to what you're actively doing right. You take back control. Action doesn't just silence fear, it transforms it. It turns uncertainty into learning. It turns doubt into data. You realize that most of what you feared was either exaggerated or completely untrue. You begin to see that failure isn't fatal. It's feedback. And once you understand that, you stop running from fear and start using it as fuel. So if you're afraid, don't wait for courage to show up. Courage doesn't knock on your door. You create it by moving. Start small, but start now. Because every great success story didn't begin with confidence. It began with a decision to act despite fear. Fear is a shadow. Action is the light. Motivation is powerful, but it's unreliable. It comes and goes like the weather. Some mornings you wake up feeling fired up, ready to take on the world. Other days, you struggle just to get out of bed. And if you rely only on motivation to get things done, you'll be inconsistent, undisciplined, and ultimately disappointed. That's where most people go wrong. They wait to feel ready before they act. But the truth is, success doesn't care how you feel. It only responds to what you do. Discipline, on the other hand, is dependable. It doesn't ask how you're feeling. It doesn't negotiate with your mood. Discipline is showing up when it's boring. It's doing the work when nobody is watching. It's pushing through the days when you're tired, uninspired, and unmotivated. Discipline is a decision made in advance that you follow through on, regardless of circumstances. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is structural. Motivation is about inspiration. Discipline is about repetition. One gets you started. The other keeps you going. Every athlete, every leader, every high achiever has learned this true thing. If you only act when you feel motivated, you'll rarely act at all. But if you build discipline, if you make consistency non-negotiable, you create a system that wins whether or not you're in the mood. Discipline is not about perfection. It's about persistence. You don't need to feel 100% every day. You just need to honor the commitment you made to yourself. The gym session you didn't feel like doing counts. The chapter you wrote even when your mind was foggy counts. The cold call you made with a shaky voice still moves you forward. Every disciplined act builds momentum, and momentum builds identity. Eventually, you stop needing motivation to act because action becomes who you are. The people you admire, the ones who seem relentless, unstoppable, unshakable, don't have more motivation than you. They just built the muscle of discipline. They show up when it's raining. They practice when it's inconvenient. They work when it's uncomfortable. They've learned that your future is shaped not by how often you're inspired, but by how often you're committed. So if you want to grow, stop chasing motivation like it's the secret. It's not. The secret is getting up even when you don't want to. Showing up even when you'd rather sleep. Putting in the reps even when no one is clapping. That's discipline. And discipline will carry you farther than any burst of inspiration ever will. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is the fire that keeps burning. Talent is a gift, but it's not a guarantee. The world is filled with talented people who never made it. Brilliant minds who never finished what they started. Natural athletes who wasted their potential. Creative thinkers who never shipped their ideas. Why? Because talent without effort is like an engine without fuel. It might look impressive, but it won't take you anywhere. Results aren't handed to those who were born gifted. They are earned by those who refuse to quit. The relentless. The ones who show up again and again, even when no one's watching, even when no one's clapping, are the ones who win. Because what you do consistently will always beat what you do occasionally, no matter how talented you are. The relentless don't wait for ideal conditions. They work through pain, boredom, fatigue, and setbacks. They don't seek perfection. They pursue progress. They understand that every master was once a beginner. Every expert was once a student. They don't panic when the results don't come quickly. They trust the process. They outlast the discomfort. They keep going long after the talented have quit. Relentlessness is a mindset. It says, I may not be the fastest, the smartest, or the most skilled, but I will be the last one standing. It's not about winning every time. It's about never giving yourself permission to give up. It's about falling down 100 times and standing up 101. The relentless person is powered not by ease, but by resolve. Not by gifts, but by grit. Every time you take action despite doubt, you're building relentless character. Every time you show up without results, you're building endurance. Every time you push through failure, you're stacking layers of mental toughness. Eventually, your consistency compounds. Your grit becomes your advantage. And people start calling you lucky or naturally talented. But they didn't see the late nights, the early mornings, the sacrifices, and the struggle. The truth is, talent might give you a head start, but it's relentless effort that takes you to the finish line. The world rewards execution, not potential. It celebrates outcomes, not intentions. So don't get discouraged if you're not the most gifted in the room. Be the most determined. Be the most consistent. Be the one who stays in the game long enough to win it. Because results don't respond to how good you could be. They respond to how hard you're willing to work. When the relentless know this, that's why they don't stop. So today, draw the line. Say it with me. No more excuses, just action. Say it until your feet move, until your habits change, until your results speak louder than your doubts. The world does not reward intentions. It rewards execution. Your time is now. So stop waiting for a sign. Be the storm. Be the one who acts. Thank you.